What up, nerds, and welcome to another stabby episode of Straight Chilling, the weekly horror movie review show where you chill and we kill, slice, dice, and chop up yet another horror movie. My name is Bob. I'll be your host for the evening. This is episode 413, recorded Monday, March 6th, 2023. Tonight, we're talking about the winner of the March poll, which is Scream 4, or 4 Cream, if you will. Before we get into it, let me introduce everyone else on the show. First up, calling in from Washington, D.C., we got your boy Randeezy. What's up?
Good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to Clowntown, USA.
How do, my boy? How do?
Washington, D.C. is now known as Clowntown, USA, which is appropriate.
That's right. This podcast is also called Clowntown, USA, and SoCo, of course.
Heard.
For the following reason. That's a segue.
And last but not least, calling in from South Korea, we got your boy Soju. What's up, man?
Oh, what up? It's your boy. Your lemon squares taste like ass stains.
Ass stains are not the flavor you desire.
No, they're not.
I hope that our esteemed Slack representative of the candle world, Anna, will make a flavor of candle called ass stains. Your
Well,
lemon
no,
squares
she
taste
needs
like
to make
ass
a lemon
stains.
square. Yeah, exactly. That needs to be a candle.
It smells like sweaty
Straight chilling.
A beautiful blend of lemon and fart
and musk.
Sensual.
That right
Succulent.
behind the leg smell.
Behind the leg.
That's a very somebody's got a problem, I think. That's not where the most smelly things should be coming from.
Behind the leg. Ooh, the front smells fine, but once you get behind that sucker,
Don't get in the back.
That's the armpit of the leg.
I'm either smelling a fresh batch of lemon squares or ass. I don't know which. I can't tell you.
They're the same.
They are one and the same. Gentlemen, before we get into the main event, let's tackle a little bit of housekeeping real quick. Here's another reminder. We do have our April poll pick currently posted on our Patreon website. If you support us at the $5 level or above, you get the chance to vote on a movie we're talking about this April. The theme for April is weed, because 420 and shit, you know? And boy, oh boy, we all guessed how this poll would be looking this week. Last time we recorded, before the poll opened, we were all very
Juice,
wrong.
ask Bob how it's looking this week.
Oh, how the numbers looking.
Whew, it is a dead heat. Straight up between all three of these movies. All three are tied. You got Troll Deuce, you got This Is the End, and you got Scary Movie 1. All tied.
Dead heat. Whoa, 33, 33, 33.
Hell yeah.
People's weed flavors, like the rivalry runs deep, I guess. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of people have voted.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of votes left from what
We need more
like,
patrons to resolve this
Yeah,
issue
sign
for
up
us.
now.
We're not talking about all three. We can't do it. We just can't do
No.
No, if it's a tie, we'll just take a week off.
it. We are ending the show if it's a tie. That's what's happening.
We get a break.
Yeah, get your votes in before the end of March. Break that tie. Let us know what weed movie we need to talk about. In other Patreon news, this past Friday, we just dropped a new mini-cast. Randeezy and myself were talking about that found footage hotness called The Outwaters. If you support us at the $10 level or above, you get access to a whole back catalog of Patreon-exclusive episodes. We got like 92, 93 on there now. We add to that every month. And you can listen to it on your podcatcher of choice, not just on Patreon. So
and we've got a really, really, really big surprise coming for mini episode 100. It's great.
Jesus Christ, what are you doing to us right now?
It's totally gonna be amazing.
What are you, the writers of Breaking Bad, writing us into a corner? We have nothing.
5 years.
Decades.
Nothing.
Nay.
Minicast
What do you-
Hundo. We're just talking to John Carpenter for 69 hours.
Oh yeah,
Wes Craven's coming on to talk to us.
Wes Craven's ghost.
Sam
We'll be
Raimi will
sitting
be in the building.
I enjoy going to the weenie roast very much.
The weenie roast. Yeah, so check that out on Patreon if you want to. Speaking of Patreon, we got a brand new Patreon supporter we got to give mad shouts outs to.
Whoa.
Oh yeah.
A big, gigantic thank you to your boy Michael C. for showing us some love over on Patreon. Every dollar you guys contribute goes right back into the show. It truly does help us keep this train on the tracks. Without you, we would not be able to do it. So, big thanks, Michael C. As is tradition around these here parts, we owe you the straight shilling salute. This one goes to Michael.
Slap my ass.
Slap my ass, Michael.
Slap.
You're joining good company. We got quite a few Michaels.
Can you jam with the console cowboys in cyberspace?
Can you, Michael? You ready to roll?
What?
Get
Michael,
hard with us, buddy.
let's deal some drugs.
Get
Yeah.
hard with us, buddy. I just said unironically. What is
All right, buddy.
the language
Time
we
to get
speak is
hard
not
with us.
it's not very conducive to spread.
Attaboy.
Oh no.
Welcome to the group. Time to get hard with us, my guy.
You're not cool unless
Let's
you're
get as
hard
weird
with
as
us.
possible with our new patrons. Tell them to slap our
That's what
ass.
they're
Tell them to
paying
get hard
for.
with
They,
us.
they
It's
know
just-
what they're paying for.
Oh shit. That's what's going on over on Patreon. Juice, you got some stuff. What's going on?
Well, we got like a little Scream marathon going on here. We got 4 Cream today. We got 6 Cream next week. Spoiler. I just wanted to take the opportunity to mention that we have some extra Scream content as well on the youtube.com/straight chillin' podcast. Bob, you made a tiki drink inspired by Scream last year when 5 Cream came out. Do you remember what that was called?
Screaming and creaming, baby.
Screaming and Creamin'. That was your first tiki cocktail, so
Yeah.
you can check that out on YouTube. Me and Bob also did like a countdown of the franchise, kind of ranking the movies, especially like after 5 Cream came out. We're kind of like seeing how it held up against the rest of the series, and might do a little update on that once 6 Cream comes out. But yeah, I just wanted to mention, have like a little Scream, a stabathon, a little straight chilling stabathon here.
Nice. Yeah, we currently have reviews of the original Scream up. You can listen to that anywhere you get your podcast, and also 5 Cream. Those are the only 2 we've done so far. So slam those into your ear holes. We got Scream shit everywhere. Screaming and shitting everywhere.
All right. Yeah, house is clean.
House
I
clean?
believe.
Squeaky. Oh no! Wait.
No, why?
I forgot.
Why
God.
would
There
you
is
do
one-
that?
There's one very important thing that we do need to announce. We're going to be reopening the You Pick the Flick tier. If you are listening and would like to pick a movie for us to review, this is the only way you can do so. We open this up quarterly. There's only 5 spots per quarter. They tend to go very, very quickly. And we're going to open this tier up on Sunday, March 19th. At an undisclosed time of day. So you got a couple weeks. Mark your calendars.
A week and a half to prepare yourself to train up.
Train.
Do the training.
Do it.
Get that clicker finger in shape.
Yeah.
Sunday, March 19th. Undisclosed time of day. You're just going to have to check on our Patreon website, refresh it. If that tier pops up, grab you a spot.
Start shooting me those DMs. How bad do you want it?
How badly do you want it? Also, a reminder: there's only 2 U picks per person per calendar year. Which I don't think we said that in a while. But that is something we started doing to try and make it a little easier for people to get in there and grab a spot because they are so limited.
One thing we haven't seen yet, I'm curious if this will ever develop, is if like there's some kind of strategic, like when you try to claim it, like, oh, I want it for spooky season, so I'll try to skip the spring to try to get it, but then it's a little risky,
It's
there's no
risky,
guarantees here. What are you going to do?
What are you
What are you
going to
gonna do?
Maybe you want to pick a special Christmas movie. You got to wait till the end of the year. You don't,
The thing is, no, they don't.
Yeah, you could just make us talk about it in July if you wanted to.
That would suck, but yeah, I guess you could.
That'd be weird, yeah.
That would completely throw Justin off his game. Very seasonal boy.
I refuse.
Mark your calendars. Sunday, March 19th. You Pick the Flick opens once again. Now I think our houses are clean.
Okay.
This house is clean.
Bingo. All right, let's get in the main event. We're talking about 4 Cream, and we're kicking it off with the back of the box.
What's on the back of the box?
Bob, how many of these boxes do you have?
Just the one.
Just really? Okay.
Yeah, I know.
How many Scream boxes total do you think you have?
I don't know.
10,
6,
12?
Maybe
Okay.
7. Too many for sure.
Yeah. For sure.
Yes,
for sure.
that's what a boy likes.
That is what a boy
Definitely
likes.
too many.
That's what a boy likes. We're talking 4 Cream from 2011, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 51 minutes. This was directed by your boy Wes Craven. This was actually the final movie he directed before he passed. Written by Kevin Williamson, stars Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette. Who else we got in here? Anna Paquin is up in here for a minute. Kristen Bell's up in here for a minute. Allison Brie is in the movie. Hayden Panettiere is in it. Emma Roberts is in it. It's a hell of a cast, honestly. Plot synopsis brought to you by IMDb is as follows. 10 years have passed, and Sidney Prescott, who has put herself back together, thanks in part to her writing, is visited by the Ghostface killer. That's terrible. That's a terrible synopsis. Jill Mangs, had you seen this movie before? And would you recommend people check it out? Ray and Deezy, kick us off.
Yes, as I'm sure we all have. We have all seen this film. Yeah, I would recommend it. Certainly if you're a Scream fan. For my money, there are definitely worse entries into this franchise. And honestly, I think that my affinity for it has grown over time. I don't know that I was quite so. I wasn't like blown away by it the first time, but I've slowly crept up, and I think it's pretty recommendable on its own merits. So, yeah, recommended for me.
Right on. Juice, what about you?
Yeah, I would highly recommend this. I have enjoyed this one since its release, but kind of enjoyed it more and more over the years. I really enjoyed to watch. I think this is a really good direct follow up to just the original Scream. If you go Scream 1, Scream 4, I think that's a fun watch. And because I think they match pretty well in tone. So yeah, I would. I think this is a really strong entry, especially for the 4th one in a franchise. You don't see that kind of quality often. So yeah, I think it's a good watch. Bob, would you recommend people check this out?
Fourth one in slashers tends to be a little bit of a reclaiming.
Actually, yeah, Halloween is good, and Friday or not? Friday the 13th.
Final chapter.
Good. Yeah.
Nightmare
what was
is all right.
Nightmare peaks at 3 for a while.
Yeah,
for my money.
That's probably one of the best.
It doesn't really trip on itself until 5, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, okay. I stand corrected. Fuck me.
Well.
Fuck me. I've seen this several times before for sure, and I definitely recommend checking it out. It's my favorite sequel to the original Scream movie.
Spoilers.
Spoilers. I know. And like Juice said,
gotta go to YouTube for that.
Like Juice said, that's right. Well, I'm gonna have to bleep that out. Like Juice said, yeah, it does. I think it does match the tone to the original Scream pretty closely. And yeah, if you dig the first one, I think there's something to get out of this one. And I do think it got better with time, interestingly, which is something we can get into momentarily. Sounds like a pretty solid recommendation across the board here from the Straight Chillin' crew. We're going to spoil the shit out of 4 Cream, and here comes your warning.
Spoiler warning.
Bob, did you type up a plot synopsis?
I got it right. Sure.
Plop it on us, big boy.
All right, big boy. Here's the full plot for Cream. After 2 fake intros that turn out to be the beginning of Stab 6, which then is revealed to be the beginning of Stab 7, we find ourselves in 2011. On the 10th anniversary of the original Woodsboro murders, teenagers Ginny and Marnie are watching Stab 6/7 and are then murdered by Ghostface. The next day, Sidney Prescott returns to Woodsboro to promote her book, and when evidence is found in her trunk, she has to stay as she is now a suspect. Sidney's cousin Jill Roberts, and her friend Olivia receive phone calls from Ghostface and are questioned by Dewey Riley, who is now the town sheriff. Gail Weathers, Dewey's wife, struggles with writer's block and begins investigating the murders against Dewey's wishes. Olivia is then killed by Ghostface as Jill and Kirby watch from the next house. Sidney is confronted by Ghostface, who flees. When the cops arrive, back at the hospital, Sidney fires her insensitive publicist, who was then murdered in the parking garage and thrown off the top of it. Gail enlists the help of 2 high school film enthusiasts, Robbie and Charlie, who theorize the killer is following the rules of horror remakes. Gail and Sidney think the killer will strike next at the Stabathon, which is an annual party/movie marathon of all the Stab movies. Gail sneaks into the party and sets up several cameras. She gets attacked and stabbed in the shoulder before Ghostface escapes. The 2 police officers assigned to watch Jill's house are then killed. Ghostface kills Sidney's aunt Kate next. Jill, Kirby, Charlie, Robbie, and Trevor are at an after party at Kirby's house when Ghostface strikes again, killing Robbie. Sidney arrives to get Jill, and the 2 are chased by Ghostface. Kirby frees a bound and gagged Charlie, who immediately stabs her. Sidney is then confronted by Charlie and a second killer, who is revealed to be her cousin Jill. She admits to planning the whole thing out of jealousy from the fame Sidney achieved from surviving previous killing sprees. She planned to frame Trevor as Ghostface to achieve similar fame and claims she doesn't want friends, she wants fans. Jill then kills Trevor and betrays Charlie, stabbing him to death so she can be the sole survivor. She then stabs Sidney several times and mutilates herself for the cops to find. The cops arrive, take Sidney and Jill to the hospital. Jill then finds out Sidney hasn't died and heads to a room to finish her off. Jill tips her hand by revealing she knows where Gail was stabbed. Dewey, Gail, and Judy intervene, but Jill holds them all at gunpoint. Sidney then sneaks up behind Jill and incapacitates her with a defibrillator and then shoots her in the head, killing her. As the camera pans out, we hear reports on air claiming Jill is the sole survivor of the evening, giving her a little taste of that fame that she was hunting for. Roll them credits.
Quite ironic.
There we go.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy to think like Scream has kind of gotten more potent over time. In the first one, they're commentating on horror movies in general. But by the time you get to the 4th one now, I can't believe that this is 12 years old at this point. But the stuff that the kind of thing that they're commenting on is kind of compressed over the past 11, 12 years. Like
since this came out, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, I think, even more relevant now than it is today, which is wild.
Well, it's like proven itself to be accurate, which not all of the Scream movies are all that accurate. Like the one thing that this movie does wrong is like gives bad nomenclature that didn't stick around. Like we say requel because of the 6th one, the Shriekquel, and the 5th Screamakes,
the Screamake,
like,
it was the other one. Yeah.
But they also played that as a pretty good joke for the AV nerds, so it doesn't bother me really.
Yeah,
and the movie, like I seem to recall before watching this, it had been a while since I've seen this. I seem to recall that there was like, for some reason, like 5 intro sequences. I was like, man, it was just too much at the beginning, but there were not as many as I remember. I thought that too.
Even watching it this time, I was prepared to go through this slog of like fake intros. And when it was only 3, I was like, oh, wait.
It's much tighter than I gave it credit for in my memory.
It's great.
So. And I just watched it last year before Scream 5, and I was thinking that exact same thing. I was like I was like, oh man, we gotta go through all these intros, and then the third one came, and I was like,
just the cameo mill.
Yeah. So I was surprised by that. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was.
No, I think this is my second to the first one, my favorite intro of all the Scream movies. I think it's fantastic.
That's fair. It's so much tighter than I thought. And the ending is, what's interesting is that the ending is protracted, but it's done cleverly. Like as part of the commentary, there's like a 3 ending situation that happens. And I thought that was pretty fucking great.
It mirrors the beginning of the movie with having like 3 like ending sequences, like the party,
but
the
also
after
it's
party,
like,
and the hospital are all like ending.
Yeah,
sequences.
the party would have been the end of 1, and it was. The after party was like sequel bait, and then the third thing, like it never ends when you expect it to. Like that at that time in particular, I feel like that was very prescient to point out. Yeah, and it's still kind of happening where like you don't really have the rubric anymore.
I remember like watching,
not the same rubric anymore.
I remember watching this in the theater when it came out and having a good time with it, but thinking like the commentary of like social media and like wanting fans and fame and not really giving a shit about friends, like plus the like headgear and like being able to stream everything live. Like all of that was like a little far-fetched at the time, and I was like, man, I don't know, they're kind of reaching. I'm having trouble buying into it, and like, goddamn, was I wrong? That is just absolute fact. That is reality.
Yeah,
like I think
what they were saying was fact. The headset was still a little ridiculous to me.
Yeah, that's super goofy and dated. But
4 years after this movie came out was Facebook Live rolled out, and then so everybody can just live stream fucking anything. So this was a little ahead of its time for sure, but like it was spot on, man. Like, unfortunately,
I mean, there were people streaming before Facebook Live, but yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it was like hit that sort of like
anybody
still sort of like the bedrock of social media at the time was still Facebook. So yeah, I can see what you're saying. But like but Google Glass never really happened, so I think that part of it is still kind of goofy, but it works well as a laughable thing for a silly nerdy character to do to have as a part of their character trait.
It's actually kind of, it's good. So the commentary is still potent, and like I feel like actually maybe even more so, like I said before. But the interesting thing is, not that I'm aware of, but this is played as like a very kind of goofy film. It matches the kind of goofy tone of the first one, maybe even more so. But the concept of like the killer's making its own movie, and then considering that now in like the relevancy of people who can live stream and shit like that, that's kind of a terrifying concept of, you know, as far as I know, I don't think we've seen anything like that in reality. To the extent of what this movie tries to play it out as, but like that would be we have. Oh, okay.
Not to the extent this movie does that, in fairness, but I just immediately, my brain just reconnected to the Elliot Rodgers thing. Do you remember that?
I do not.
Where his manifesto and shit was posted, like he videotaped himself. This is the guy who shot up a sorority house, I want to say, something like that.
No, okay.
Kid of a rich film producer, like. I don't know, man. There's a lot.
And maybe we're just kind of shielded from it. You know, it's not given the
but that was 2014.
Okay,
so this predates that by 3 years.
Yeah,
the idea of streaming yourself doing illicit things, I think, has always been like dark webbed to some extent for at least for the majority of my internet using years. But
I guess kind of what my mind goes to is like a
on
Henry
Facebook,
portrait of a serial killer type thing, you know, where it's like, but I hope it doesn't happen. I'm just saying, like, the concept of that, considering that could easily be done these days, is scary.
Well, and also like they're talking within the commentary, it's still great because it's really good because it's, you know, they're making the movie this time, which is. Everybody is making their own film. We're making something right now. Everybody has output that they put, what they call content that they put on the web on some level. And it's like, so they're making movies, they're making audio, they're making whatever. And then they're putting it out there. And a lot of times with the cameras and the resources that are now available to the just consumer goods, like you can make a pretty convincing movie if you have the technical prowess to do so. with pretty minimal investment money-wise.
Yeah, for sure. I also think this, like the commentary of 4 Cream and 5 Cream are not identical, but very close. Like they talk about like remakes or like legacy sequels, which is something that's a term that didn't exist when this movie came out, but now does. Essentially, they're the same thing though. And like, I feel like the commentary in 4 Cream didn't land at the time because we didn't have like, you know, the new Star Wars movies coming out and shit. Like we, you know, and everything else is doing the exact same. Halloween, you know, 2018, all these things. It's like, I feel like 5 Cream is just like, hey, we can just do that again. Like everybody knows what that means now. I mean, they, you know, tidied it up for sure and use like more adequate, more appropriate terminology and stuff. But like, it's very similar, I think, in what it's commenting on. As far
I think
as
it's pretty
franchises
different because I just did a back-to-back. Like I watched 4, 5 because I haven't watched 5 since it was released. I kind of want to see how it held up, especially with 6 coming out and like, you know, get familiar with the characters again and stuff. But like 4 is more, so it's like kind of taking the concept of like it's kind of like what we've commented on even like the kind of like Dahmer stuff. It feels like of kind of cashing in on these tragedies of using it. Even this girl's willing to sacrifice her mother for attention and fame that will last her a lifetime. Who 20 years ago on one night had to face her killer boyfriend and everything, and has since like got this fame from it. We start off with Sidney showing up, you know, to the town selling books and doing a book signing and stuff like that. Whereas 5 is more, I mean, I don't want to do like spoilers, but it's kind of like a chicken or the egg type thing where it's commenting on this endless cycle of we consume violence, which inspires us to make movies, which then we get bored of and then like kind of cycle back around to inspiring the violence ourselves. I think they're pretty different but potent in their own rights. Like
I think they have a lot of similarities.
I mean they use a lot of, I mean they point out like this is what happens in a requel or a shriekquel or whatever they call it. Like in both movies there's a very clear scene where they do that. I'm not talking about like the killer's motivation necessarily. I'm just talking about like the commentary as far as the requels are concerned is very much like the same.
Okay.
Thing.
Yeah. I guess like
if
the
Scream 1 is commenting on
Halloween, like the whole meta.
Those are not quite the same.
Okay. That's kind of what I was. Okay.
And like as far as that goes, though, that is interesting because I feel like that's going to come around in Scream 6 again, but in like a more direct way. Like that, my big theories for Scream 6 all involve like, you know, like underground cult societies of people emulating Ghostface the way that people emulate violence in this country that they see because they want to feel like they have an identity beyond their identity that they hate, which is themselves. Like
they might be commenting on collectors, Bomb. They might be looking right at you. This
I would love it. I mean, love it.
And the difference between 4 and 5 to me is like I didn't really think about that, but like the difference between 4 and 5 to me is that like there's in 4 in this one they have like this. They just don't have all of the tropes nailed down yet because I think it's still kind of like it's still developing that whole requel sequel situation. And at that time, I don't think it was quite as understood. Like until Halloween 2018 came out, I don't think that the rules were really solidified for what that really meant as a legacy sequel, meaning that it is like trying to rescue the original movie from its terrible sequels. And that's what I think 5 kind of tries to do or tries to comment on. Whereas this one is just like about like the reboot. We're going to make this go and keep it going.
Well, it also kind of feels like that. So it really does. It's like it is kind of similar, but it still feels very different for me because you're right. Those things didn't really exist. You know, Star Wars kind of kicked those things off and they mentioned them in 5 of like you have the Halloweens. That's the biggest one. Obviously, now we've seen like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But even at the time of Scream coming out, most of it still was. And we saw it. I feel like we didn't see as much of it because most of them just bombed and fell flat, where it was like, you know, you saw the Friday the 13th remake where it's like, we're going to take this franchise and it's like kind of gonna reboot it, but it's like essentially bringing around for the new generation. It's like an update.
Right. Remakes back then were Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween, and
Rob Zombie's Halloween, Friday the 13th.
They were like not hyper. They were kind of reverent of the original, but not hyper reverent the way that they kind of currently are with Halloween 2018. I think that's the key difference of what they're speculating on in both of these movies.
I agree.
About the industry.
So. Yeah, because it wasn't really around much then. Even like Bob said, those Star Wars movies went around where you're bringing back the old characters. Yeah. You're kind of continuing on that story in some way. Yeah, because all the remakes at the time were like disconnected or still some kind of like distant sequels. You know, they weren't. But Scream's been doing that the whole time. You know, in a way, Scream's like maintaining like, commenting the characters. On sequels for a time.
Like, well, Scream 2 and 3, they were both commenting on sequels, 2 more successfully than 3, in my opinion. And that's because it like had the fresh pot untainted to pull from. The well was not, dry at that point. And by the time 3 comes around, they're forcing that shit out so quick that they just don't have a lot of new material to work with. 4 benefits from its gap a lot. And even 5, I think, benefits from its gap a lot. And it's what makes me most nervous about 6.
Yeah, that's fair.
and I mean, 2 was rushed out like immediately after 1 back in the day. And they even had to do like major script rewrites because the script was like leaked and it was spoiled and stuff. So like, I don't know, it can be done. I think these guys are really talented. Radio Silence, I think they're really talented. So I don't know. But like,
it's one thing to go from commenting on like horror movie franchise starter to horror movie sequels. Those are very distinctive things you can comment on. And I don't know what the distinctive thing that 6 is going to comment on that 5 didn't. I'm hoping it's going to be talking more about like true crimey things, like not just the idea of like
it'd be a great idea
where people. I mean, that's the exploitation of survivors. We talked about that in this one with Alison Brie's character being basically like the poster child of that. But that is where we live now. Like everything is true crime, and not all of it is done ethically. I would maybe argue, or I've definitely have reason to suspect that probably most of it isn't entirely ethical,
just
to put out
based, there. Which is not ideal.
So I'm hoping it goes there but that's not about this movie.
I think we do that a couple times. Like, what, I don't know, maybe we were talking about it in 5 where we're thinking, what would the thing be? But since 6 is coming out, I really think it could be about, like, I had this really interesting conversation with Bob and Alice when I was back in Florida, where Alice was kind of explaining, I was commenting on something, I can't remember what it was, but Alice was explaining the idea of like selling apples or something in Animal Crossing, a turnip. There's like this turnip market, and people regulate it, and it's based on like this like and I think it's gonna be kind of like a little bit maybe of like that collector's idea, but about the idea of like having this world that's separate from reality, but it's based in its own like rules and like logic, and people take it upon themselves to like form their identities around it and then gatekeep around it. And
describing.
Fandom, but fandom to the extreme of where it's like
your world,
and then you regulate that world, like creating your own rules within this world that's been created by somebody, like taking somebody else's creation and like creating your own kind of world around it that you then gatekeep and regulate. I think that might be what it'd be about.
It'd be a cool evolution jumping off 5 Cream. Like they take it upon themselves to like influence those who make films because they're tired of the bullshit that's been churning out. And if that doesn't work out, then like, fuck it, let's just make it our reality. Like we don't want to rely on these filmmakers anymore. Let's just do it ourselves and live it. That's interesting. I like it. Hopefully it's dope.
I noticed that they didn't invite the Straight Chillin' podcast on for Scream 6, right. But unless they did, and we're just
talking about 4 Cream,
keeping it under wraps.
Let's talk about some of the gore. There's a lot to get into actually here. Jumping into some of the gore and Scream 4, some of the kills. Perkins's death, where he gets stabbed directly into the forehead, I guess was based on some like real life thing that Wes Craven was. It was like a documentary he was watching where this dude got impaled directly in the forehead by something, and then was still able to drive himself to the hospital to have it removed.
Oh yeah, man.
We've seen stuff like that where there's this old story where some dude was building the railroad and like a spike went through his fucking head.
Yeah,
and
maybe that's it.
There's that, and then there was also like I remember hearing about in school, maybe it was even high school science class, about somebody who's through some sort of accident like that had their like whole brain severed in half so it couldn't communicate with itself.
Damn. Yeah.
And when that happens, it makes it like if you cover one eye, you might not be able to recognize objects, but you can, like, it's like crazy shit I can't articulate well now.
No.
But like it, like if you cover the other, like it really makes a disconnect between your brains. It's like having competing voices.
Oh, they can't communicate with each other.
So like, I don't know. That's what I think. It's fucking weird. And I wish I could remember more specifics than that. But
the brain is
hopefully more accuracy.
The
brain is fucked.
Obviously, the opening sequence with like the stomach stabs and whatnot, and then the way that sort of ends, I think, is just like perfect. Where it's a callback to the Tatum garage kill from the original Scream, where she, she doesn't get killed by the garage in this one, but like gets stopped by it. I thought that was a really nice.
Yeah. I was so upset because there's this line that I really wanted the Ghostface to say in that moment. And I, for some reason, was like, yeah, I think he says that. I think he does. Because I see this thing happening where the garage door goes down on her. And then naturally, because it's a garage door and it's designed to do this, goes back up again.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually kill her. And I thought for sure he was going to flip her over and right before stabbing her say, they just don't make them like they used to, or something like that.
Oh, damn.
Would have been fucking great.
Really funny.
Damn, C radio, silent, whatever. Call us. We know the shit.
they didn't make this movie, but still, listen.
Well, yeah, they did.
The Olivia kill scene where she gets like slashed in her bedroom. That's extraordinarily brutal. And I think up until this point was easily the most brutal Ghostface kill we had ever seen. It actually reminded me of that scene from Terrifier 2 a little bit. The way it went down.
I haven't seen that, but it reminded me, like, and as it should and was intended to, a little bit of Hills Have Eyes remake, like how brutal that was. And, although without the sexual aspect in it, of course, but like some of the brutality in that movie really fucked me up, and that's like the level it was approaching with this movie. Like from that point on, for the most part.
That's so strange. I did not like watching this movie. I was specifically thinking like, oh, this tone is so bright and like goofy.
And it is.
That's none of the only one that really stood out to me, I was like, oh shit, was the through the head, you know? But even that to me was not played from like a brutal sense because he gets up.
The fuck Bruce Willis line at the end too, like really.
Yeah, it's like probably like kind of goofy, and even so you could take that exact same scene, you could take that line out, and like just from like a shooting standpoint or where like that could be really fucked and tragic without changing anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the way it's kind of shot and the tone of this movie, nothing really feels particularly heavy to me. And so even though technically I guess it's kind of brutal, but I didn't feel that Olivia kill as like so brutal, I guess. I don't know.
It hit me pretty hard. Well, I mean, not so much now that I've seen it like 10 times, but I remember watching it in the theater thinking like, holy fucking shit. Like we've never seen Ghostface go quite this hard. It was really impactful at the time.
What was the headset guy's name?
Robbie.
Oh yeah. So Robbie, like he gets fucked up hard. Like it's not. It's mostly like you don't see a lot of viscera, but it's just like drenched in blood from like all the play. Like it worked really well, and like, there was at least one kill, and I think it was the Olivia kill. Like I'm blanking on it now. That I was like noticing how like fucking legitimate the intestinal tract being pulled out looked. It was very gruesome.
There's
so yeah, I thought the gruesomeness was great.
I think so too. Towards the end of the movie, the boyfriend Trevor gets shot in the dick and before he's killed, And then whenever Jill like stabs the shit out of Charlie, like directly in the heart and kills him, and then proceeds to beat the ever-loving shit out of herself, like that whole sequence, I think hits pretty damn hard.
When she has to put the knife up and then she like shoves it like using the wall, I like kind of flinched a little bit. Like, oh, shit.
Dude, that's
I can't like. Sorry, go ahead.
That killer reveal is like so good. Like it's very similar to the original, intentionally so, because they're talking about remakes, but it still feels kind of like fresh, and these characters don't feel like super recycled, and it still like hits like the original does. I mean, not quite as well because you don't have like the Stumacher slobber session happening, but it's pretty close, I think.
Well, I was thinking back because, one, it's a good reveal, and obviously it's the first one. It's fresh. 2 and 3, 2 is good within itself, but the way of 2, without spoiling anything, we've never covered it. The reveal to me, it's not great about 2, and 3 is just not a good movie. So that obviously is not great. So for this, like 4 and 5, I think, it's weird to go back and think about how we were judging by, because I feel like a lot of the rubrics I was kind of using for myself were set up by 4, because 4 did such a good job of kind of like reclaiming this, setting it back up, because you're right. They do such a good job, but it's weird to say like, oh, they're not so recycled, they're not so reused, when really like 2 and 3 didn't do a particularly good job at this aspect of the Scream franchise. So I think
honestly,
they did do a good job.
Part of the point.
I didn't mean that as a negative.
No. I mean, it's not, because they don't feel super recycled, and yet they are, because they're hitting those archetypes they're supposed to hit. Having the Sidney character ultimately be the villain is just pretty fucking smart. And I would much rather that overall. Like I liked 5 a lot, but the introduction of a new central core cast that's definitely going to continue through to some extent, and has continued for 6. I don't know, man. That to me is where it's a little bit. I wasn't a big fan of that, even though I understood why they would do it, both from a financial sense and from an artistic sense. But I felt like the financial sense is the only reason it happened at all. I don't think it happens without there being dollars and cents at play. Whereas in this one, they just kind of played it perfectly. They gave like a great send off to all our characters, except, in my opinion, for Dewey. I think this movie did Dewey dirty.
You think?
Nice. Yes.
You think that every time, though. I did make some notes because it was some things that we had commented on in 5, and it's like fun to come back now a year later. Again, comment, because I think we have this impression in our mind. 1 is so strong, but like 2 and 3. Like Dewey gets his ass kicked. That's kind of his thing. And I don't know if he's done so dirty in that, like, that's how his character is. And then the way they treat him in 5 feels like more grounded and realistic in a tragic kind of sense, because that's what the movie is. But I don't like, Dewey gets his ass kicked, but you think they do him dirty. Like, I don't know. He feels pretty. I don't think that's what
him getting his ass kicked is not at all what I'm concerned with. What I'm concerned with, it's the way that he interacts with Gail. Like that's all very trumped up to me. Like that. I don't believe that this person who is sheriff and who has lived through the situation 3 times is not going to listen to Gail's. Not involve Gail in this at all. Like, I don't buy that. And that is honestly, if that doesn't happen, if they team up immediately, as they logically should and would, then a lot of this goes down a lot differently. Maybe they catch the killers earlier. I don't know. Like, but it just seems like they don't give. It seems like a matter of convenience that he has this crux where he's like, I'm the sheriff now. I can't do that now. I was like, what are you talking about? People are dying. Like, that's always been like your chief concern. It's never been like you want to be a cop, you want to follow procedure or whatever. But when the chips are down, you fucking haul ass and you get your ass beat in order to save lives. What you're not doing here is everything you can be doing. And that's not what I expect from Dewey at 4 movies in.
I agree. It doesn't feel correct for his character, even if he is the sheriff. It's a slight beef I have with this movie, but it is what it is. I don't think he's done dirty. That just doesn't really make much sense, like from the writing standpoint. Like, why would
I don't know. I feel like they could have played it up. I see the kind of seeds of where like it could have been played up more, because the idea that we kind of get later on too is, like, she has, I don't know, her not, her seeing Sidney being successful writing a book, and then her sitting there and not being able to write. But also she's like, if they played up maybe like she's given up her dream, she's not in the press anymore. Maybe she gave up some job in New York or whatever to stay because Dewey was the sheriff. She's stuck in this small town, and like, it's more played from like she's just kind of being reckless because she's bored, or she's trying to get back on top, or she's trying to do that. Then it makes sense for the sheriff to be like, you don't need to be doing that. And they plant those seeds a little bit, but they could have played it up more.
I think they mostly just say that that's her state of mind like once. And I agree. Like if they had played that up a little bit, and also if they had given Dewey some consequences for following Gail's lead or by involving her, like the thing is, he doesn't answer to anybody in Woodsboro. He's the sheriff, which actually means he has more freedom, not less, like at least within the confines of knowing he has to do this thing to help save lives. So it kind of makes things harder. But if you show like that he has some sort of supervisor, be it like some district attorney or some sort of villainous company man, that not villainous, but like some sort of company man that's not going to let him color outside the lines, even though he has learned at this point that that's what he needs to do in these situations, then maybe it works. And I agree with you, but I just don't see it as it is.
Deputy Judy could have very easily filled those shoes instead of just like trying to keep Gail out because she kind of digs on Dewey. She could have been like we're doing it by the books, and that's why you're not allowed in the office, which could have worked out. Overall, I think like Judy,
I don't like her as like a romantic rival. It doesn't work if they don't do enough groundwork there either. Yeah, but I like her as a character because like the interaction she has with Sid is great.
Yeah, I agree. I think she's a great addition to the movie, and I like that they brought her back in Five Cream. And I thought she was great in Five Cream. I thought that was a wonderful holdover. Honestly,
I thought she was a good red herring of like it could be the Popes, it could be
the way they lit that scene of her in
the hall
talking to Sid was so good,
super fucking creepy. I think pretty much
we are very impressed.
Yeah, we are. All the new characters in this movie I think are pretty solid. Judy, the nerds, Charlie and Robbie, I think do a pretty good job, sort of like filling in for Randy in a way. Also, Kirby fills in for Randy.
Kirby's solid, yeah.
Kirby's solid. Rebecca, Allison Brie is like sort of a nice stand-in for Gail Weathers. She's sort of like the cutthroat publicist. She's in it to like make a name for herself, make a buck or whatever. Jill, the cousin, was a surprise fucking killer to me anyways. And then Deputy Perkins too, I think was sort of like some nice comedy added. Most of these characters die, so like, you can't really bring them back. But
what's great about this? I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
I wanted to ask if you guys were like really surprised by who the killers were. Were you able to like call one out, call them both out?
No,
I don't
never
remember the first time I saw it. Yeah, probably not. I definitely
I'm pretty bad at that.
Maybe Charlie. The good thing, or like the interesting thing about Charlie is, we had this discussion on the Slack. Yeah, the Slack recently is the Culkin. To me, the Culkin look, especially as adults, is like kind of creepy. They got these kind of like sunken in eyes and very like sharp features, and like pale features. So like their eyebrows don't come out very prominent. So they just look a little creepy to me.
Throw up.
Good, like all good actors. I'm not knocking them, but like just their general kind of look are creepy. And in this, he's kind of like the outsider. I don't really buy the like Kirby interest in him, honestly, but I think it's cool that somebody who's like kind of a creeper ends up being the killer.
I think that, I don't like necessarily clock him the same way that you do, but I agree as far as the Hayden Panettiere, that character, like it's not that, they couldn't work together. It's that they don't lay any groundwork for that either. And I understand that a lot of these problems really come down to like things that you could do if your movie was 3 hours long and not trying to be a tight, like 90, whatever, at 2 hour, whatever it is. It's under 2 hours, right? It's like 140, something
151.
Like that? 151. So yeah, like they're keeping it tighter, which is appreciated on its own end. So I kind of I kind of can't be too hard on it for this, but I feel like if you're going to try and play this thing where he's like, oh, all these years and now you notice me. And I'm like, I don't care about this. I don't buy that. I didn't even know that like they made 2 mentions of him pining after her, but the other kid, Robbie, like they're just talking about girls like objects the whole time. And I thought that was the thing. I didn't really take them as seriously pining after one girl and that being like an emotional crux for anybody. And for her to, the way that she kind of slowly sidles into him or whatever, I thought it just rang a little hollow. I didn't really buy it. I think maybe that was part of the point because she was also a red herring, but I don't think it worked really perfectly in either direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this movie sort of like hits the threefold that like is required to make a good Scream movie, which is it's like so fucking difficult to do. Like it has to work as a slasher movie on its own first and foremost. Second to that, it has to be able to like commentary on slashers or like horror franchises, like tropes and shit. And then finally, it has to be able to like work in some sort of like social commentary, something that like isn't necessarily like held down to the fiction that is these like franchises, but like something is happening in real life. And I think most of these movies are able to do that, which is phenomenal because like how hard is it to do any one of those things, but to do all three? And I think this movie nails all three, honestly, and it's entertaining at the same time. It doesn't feel like it's like preaching or like regurgitating shit that you've already seen before.
Yeah, it feels like all of them hit an exposition point, like at the end where it's like a little dumpy, where it's like laying it on fairly thick.
Yeah,
I think that I think that the fact, like you said, that they're putting being a slasher, an entertaining slasher first is key, and I'm not entirely sure that I feel like what was missing from maybe the second one. I don't remember the third one well enough to comment that much, but the second one, it felt like it was more concerned with like telling more of Sidney's backstory by way of a whodunit than it was with like concerned with being a slasher that is entertaining. I don't know. That's kind of the impression I get. Whereas this one, like it has a whodunit, just like the first one. They both have whodunits, but they're not the centerpiece of the film. The centerpiece of the film is watching these teens go apeshit and talking about horror movies very self-aware way. So those things, those check boxes carry me through that stuff, I guess.
Mm-hmm. This has, to kind of go off that point, this has some good slash. So if you want to say, we kind of talked about the commentary, but, we talked about the gore a little bit, but the slasher moments, in the garage, Alice and Brie, that kind of moment, the opening kill is a solid, just slasher moment. And let's see, what are some other like really solid Olivia, like that kind of moment.
The whenever they kill
some general creeping around.
The ant kill was kind of weird, honestly, where she like slides down in front of the door and she gets stabbed through the mail slot.
I liked that.
Yeah.
It wasn't like visceral, but it was fucking sad for one thing.
It was sad,
it was sad, but also they didn't play it for laughs or anything, but it's kind of like, I don't know. It was a creative way to use the knife, which I always appreciate.
It kind of, thinking about it now, reminds me of that other kill scene in 5 Cream that I won't say who it is, but there's sort of a kind of similar moment in 5 Cream.
I just watched it and I can't. It's been blocking in my mind. I just watched it. Damn.
I don't want to spoil it. But
thanks for not spoiling the movie we reviewed last year.
Well, in case someone's listening and hasn't.
Obviously I need to not have it spoiled because I can't remember anything about it now.
I think
I literally just like a night ago.
I don't know, man.
There are like plenty of good slasher moments. There's a lot of like comedy in this too. That there's like this one slight moment where Dewey wakes up because he's getting a phone call or whatever, and his ringtone is the theme from Beverly Hills Cop. That little touch fucking kills me.
The Stabathon, as much as I loved that setting and I loved spending time there and like kind of like I love the situation of it. The same guys that threw that party knew intimately well that is a prime place for the killer that just murdered several of their friends to target. And that, like, I could see in Scream 1, they throw a party because they're being dumb kids. In this one, they're dumb kids that know the history of this town and know exactly how this go. And so much so that the literal event that they're hosting is about it. Mm-hmm. I had a hard time swallowing that to some extent because does self-preservation not kick in for these dorks? Like, what's going on?
Well, one of them is the killer.
Right, I know that, but like, I feel like the other one would like counter or something. Maybe he's being manipulated. I don't really get the sense that they had that dynamic going.
Well, so let's see. Charlie is in charge, right? No. He's the vice president.
Yeah.
But, well, the other guy, though, the good thing about that, which kind of plays into the commentary of what you're talking about. Okay, so I think this actually is important because that's the guy that's obsessed with filming things. So he's like has to make his life more exciting, more relevant to what's going on so that he gets the viewership. So he would be the last person that would want to cancel Stabathon, and his like vice president or whatever is the one who wants a setting to be able to easily kill people. So I think it works.
I guess so. Maybe, but I just feel like do none of these kids fear for their lives? I just kind of understand.
Apparently not. But there's
the first one that you could say was an isolated incident, but not in this one.
Yeah.
Like, we're 4 movies deep.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what this franchise does, though. It kind of like repeats these tropes and you know. But yeah, to your point, though, I think he refers to the party or whatever as like my film, my marathon. Nobody cancels my marathon or something. He says something like that. So like there's a sense of hubris for sure. Which I guess makes sense as to why he would want to just go through with it.
I guess it just rings weird to me because I would never like tempt fate for a fucking movie marathon.
Well, they also too like they say, you know, it's super exclusive and we're only inviting like you only get this like email invite or whatever. So in that way, you're kind of like. It would be like if we thought there was a killer in Jacksonville, but we invited all of our friends to hang out. It's like nobody's particularly thinking that one of our friends is the killer.
You are if you're at a movie marathon based on the town that you're in, where the whole thing is your friend murdered all of these people.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing is a whodunit. All the movies that they're watching are about who in my friend group is a killer. So.
Yeah. It's always someone you know. You're dating some new person, they're going to fucking murder your friends, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't bring him to the Stabathon. Don't tell him where it's at.
Man.
One of the negatives I do have for this movie is there's a slight, like... I don't know exactly what it is, but it's like maybe some sort of lens they're using or some sort of filter they put on the lens, or maybe it's done like after, you know, in post or what. But there's like the sort of like light gauzy look to it. Do you guys notice that? It's like almost like a soft focus to the film.
No. If anything, I would say this movie is a little grainier than it has been in the past. Like, wow. I would say like, I mean, not necessarily like, it's not film grain though. It's like color. It's like color correction not even artifacts. Just
it feels
like,
bright. I thought it
feels like desaturated maybe is what it is by comparison to the earlier movies. Certainly from 2 and 3 where they brighten things up substantially, but 2 and 3 like have a lot of like visual similarities to fucking Scary Movie, which is not great because that's a comedy.
Well, it's hard too because I watched 4 and 5 back together, and 5 is very dark, very grainy, very like everything.
That one definitely goes full bore.
Yeah. So compared, like watching this one, I was like, "Oh, this is super bright."
Maybe it's a matter of increments then, but like, that's how it struck me after like. I watched a few clips from like the first 3 movies the other day and before watching this one, and it's like it just struck me as a little bit more subdued. And I think that's kind of like with the trend even of that time of like you look at Friday the 13th remake, you look at Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Those are both like substantially desaturated or darker in general compared to their source material, even though like the darks aren't just like pure black shadows. They're like just like slightly, I don't know, it's tough to describe, but there's a little bit more like darkness and desaturation going on is the impression I got. And I guess 5, you're probably right, doubles down on that because that only got more intensified once Halloween 2018 hit.
Yeah.
So
hello darkness, my old bish.
I think another like weird thing, like something that I think this movie could have done was like dove deeper into the rules of like what a shriekwell or whatever they call it is. And like it touches on some of them. I think it could have gone a little deeper, but of course, like there wasn't like this plethora of like, remakes or legacy sequels or whatever you want to call them back in the day for them to pull from. It was still like, coming to, but like one of the rules they throw out is like the only way to survive a slasher movie is if you're gay. And I never like really understood where that came from. I still don't really
I don't either, really.
That. I don't know.
I'm not sure what
what movie are they pulling from?
I have no idea.
I'm sure there's an example of that, but it's probably like an example. At least I agree.
It's not a trope. It's like not something that's been consistent for a decade.
It's almost, I feel like they just did that for the joke of Robbie's like trying to save himself by saying, I'm gay.
Could be.
If it helps.
Could be. And dies anyway.
Could be, yeah. I really don't know where that's coming from.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the less kind of like movie. I mean, because really, I see it more as like well, it's hard now because looking at it now, it feels like more of a social commentary more than a film commentary. Because you're right, like compared to other Screams, at least like 1 and 5, it feels like less concerned with like movies. And it's more just about like social status and between Robbie and the cousin, what's her name? Jill and even Allison Brie and everything. It's more about just like chasing that kind of fame and getting your 15 minutes or whatever. There's not as much like movie focus, it seems like.
Yeah. I think it's largely because it just wasn't so the idea of it of a horror like remake legacy sequel just wasn't solidified.
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I see what you're saying though, and I don't know. I think this does its job really well in terms of like showing that social dynamic, and I don't think that it does a bad job by any means talking about movies. It just has a few things that maybe aren't fully developed. That gay rule being one of them, where it just feels like a little underbaked with that, which is weird considering how much gap there was. You would think that they would have everything like that nailed down first, but I guess it just doesn't really hit. Like it's the style pastiche that they get right about the kinds of movies that were happening at that time, more so than these spoken. And maybe that's one of the things. Like in 5, their brain dump, their exposition dump is pretty heavy. Is my memory of it anyway. It's a very heavy one, even within the Scream canon, and this one is not. And I think maybe that's why, is because it's more like stylistically able to match, and it just lets the visuals do the talking in terms of like putting itself in this time and place in 2011. Whereas 5 like does a lot more to like directly draw parallels 1-to-1 between that movie, what's happening in that movie, and the requels of the time. So I don't know. That's speculation on my part, but that's just kind of how it feels.
Yeah. Any other major points you guys want to touch on before we rate For Cream?
No,
I think I'm good, man.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and do it. Out of 5, Juicy J, why don't you kick us off? How do you feel about For Cream?
Yeah, I like For Cream a lot. I always have, and I think I've just liked it more and more over the years. It's crazy how relevant it still is today. I think it holds up really well 12 years later. Crazy that it's that old, but I thought it held up really well. I like the killers. I like their motivations. All the new characters like work pretty well. Olivia's like not much going on there. Judy was like hit or miss with like some of the things they were giving her to do. Yeah, Trevor was kind of a big
I wish they had made Trevor look like Skeet Ulrich a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so there's like a handful of people that are just kind of throw-ins and don't really amount to much. But Kirby is really solid. Culkin is solid. who else is solid? Kirby and Culkin, and Robbie is solid. The cousin solid. So yeah, I think they play well for the most part with, you know, the original characters, and there's like some solid motivations going on. They maybe could have played up the Gale motivations a little bit more. Maybe the Dewey kind of mindset they could have like done a little better. I feel like it match tone wise. I feel like it's the closest to the first one, with the mix of like goofiness and commentary and slasher stuff going on. I feel like it's the kind of closest in tone. I enjoyed like the comedy beats of this for the most part, except the kind of gay thing that was just like really weird and kind of confusing. And the only thing so I was surprised this time around with the opening. It didn't bother me, and I didn't think it went too long. I did, though, think that the ending was still kind of too long. I kind of feel like I've always felt that. Like, it's like, oh, man, like, come on, like, wrap it up. It is cool where they go to the hospital, and it's kind of, you know, like a nod to like Halloween in that kind of way and stuff. But I don't know, a little bit too many endings for my liking. But yeah, I really like this movie, and I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. 4 for 4, Kareem.
There you go.
Yeah. I like that head kill. Like that one like really sticks out to me as kind of like a, you know, a standout kill for the franchise, or like the knife through the head.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And even like the comedy beat doesn't bother me because it's consistent with the movie. So, you know, but yeah, for Bob.
Oh, hey.
How are you going to rate 4, Kareem?
Yeah, I think this movie is able to do that balancing act between the horror and the comedy, which is very difficult to do. I think there's definitely a lot of humor. There's a lot of like kills that still like that feel like visceral when you watch them happen on screen. I think it also does a good job at bringing back its like, you know, legacy characters after a pretty solid break in a way that like makes sense for all of them to be there. It doesn't feel shoehorned, and it brings in like a new cast of characters that also help the movie feel fresh and sort of like energetic and interesting. I think it also, like I already mentioned, I think it works as a slasher movie first and foremost, and is extremely entertaining. It also like comments on franchises as well as the social commentary in there, which has only become more and more like accurate, which is awful. Honestly, it's very unfortunate. But this movie just sort of like called the shots in a way I don't think even Wes Craven or Kevin Williamson ever would have thought it would have been quite as accurate as it is. I would hope not anyways, but I think it does like play into the movie's the way people talk about it now as opposed to the way they spoke about it back in 2011. I think it's very of its time today. It wasn't so much of its time when it came out. The Stabathon sequence might not make total sense, but I think it's a really great set piece. It's like a really interesting spot for stuff to go down, and I think it also like harkens back to Gale's infatuation with like hiding cameras. She has all the mini cameras in the world and uses them bitches in every movie. I like the intro. I think it's one of the best intros of the franchise. I remember like watching it go down in the movie theater and just like was so taken aback by it. I thought it really, really stood out to me in a pretty major way. And the whodunit, I think, is also pulled off really well. I had no idea who the killers were, and I thought their motivations were pretty sound and interesting. And the sequence where Jill is like beating this shit out of herself is just such a great moment in the movie. Just a few like slight negatives is that overall like hazy look. I don't know what that is. If you guys watch it again, like keep an eye out for that. See if you notice it.
We're not watching it on 8K, Bob. Okay,
watch it on anything. Still,
that 8K did you dirty, boy.
The Dewey and Gale motivations are a little like confusing, and you know the rules of like, you know, what a what a shriekwell is could have gone a little bit deeper, I think. But I think that this does the balancing act for me. It really checks all the boxes of everything I want from a Scream movie. So I'm going to come in with a 4.5 out of 5 on 4 Cream. Ray and Deezy, how do you feel?
Yeah, so I just was looking back at scores from other Scream films, and I was not on the original Scream review.
We did that with Danielle, I think.
I was not around for that, but I did gave 4 stars to Scream 5, and I think now that might be just a smidge high. I think that Scream 4 is, in the course of this conversation, solidified itself as being the superior film for me. I would have definitely said the opposite before I started watching Scream 4, and I definitely said the opposite in that review of Scream 5 last year. But man, I don't know. Like, looking at it now, it's been a long time since I've seen it, and it just fits really well. If this movie had been sort of like the ultimate capstone in it, I would have been perfectly satisfied. The thing that Scream 5 did that lost me is very much the ending of that movie, which I won't go into. But this movie kind of hits the ending perfectly for my money. It hits the beginning in a really clever way, in a funny, engaging way. It hits the gore. I loved seeing like characters like Judy and like Hayden Panettiere's character. I liked that they gave the look of the reboots, even if it came at the expense of some of the exposition about horror movie stuff. I'm not so put off by that. But maybe we could have done a little bit more. I guess, to Rob's point, maybe it was just a little early in the cycle of that sort of thing before we could really get into it. I don't know. I loved this is the one, like maybe the second best one-liner ender closer in the whole franchise, which is "Don't fuck with the original." That's great. That and "Not in my movie" are like neck and neck for my favorite one-liner kill for the final. Yeah, I don't know. The only things I really disliked kind of center around, for the most part, Dewey and Gale to a lesser extent. I just don't think that Dewey's character made a lot of sense for this point in his life and career. I feel like Gale was putting up with a lot, and they could have developed her a little bit more. And that stuff kind of fell flat, and it's hard to blame them too much considering how much ground they had to cover. But I think, I think they could have done just a little bit more and made it work, or just rewritten certain aspects and had those things hit. And then I wasn't big on the Hayden Panettiere and Culkin situation, just because it didn't really sell to me because of the things I said earlier. And really, that's about it. So for me, I think I'm going to give this a 4.5.
You've come a long way on 4 Cream, Randy. You used to be pretty poo-poo on it.
I think that maybe I think Rob was so hype on it that maybe it turned me down on it a little bit.
Be a pretty strong stand.
Yeah, man.
Bob stands a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we all do.
No,
it's sometimes you just want to make a spite score. Soju knows all about that, from what I understand. Yeah, as I recall, there was some discussions about what your score was for Scream 1.
Yeah,
the thorny
real
soju,
back and forth.
Definitely a 5-star movie. We have all said as much for the original Cream.
I've said nothing.
Well, with Randeezy's 4.5 there, that's going to put our aggregate at a 4.3 for 4 Cream, which is definitely higher than I anticipated. And that's pretty good.
Yeah, man.
Let's roll on over into our Rotten Maters segment. See what the critics and users think about 4 Cream.
Certified fresh to death.
All right, this is the Rotten Tomatoes segment in which I'm going to give these gentlemen a chance to guess within the best of their abilities what the critics and user aggregate positive score is for Scream 4. This is RottenTomatoes.com, and we're doing it. We're going to start with the critic reviews. There are 190 critical reviews. Bob, what percentage of those critics' reviews do you believe are positive?
This is kind of a hard one. I don't know how. I wonder how many of those critics rated it when it came out. I think the percentage would go up over time. So I think it's going to be positive, but maybe not crazy high. I'll just take a 75%, please.
75%. All right. Juice, how about you?
Yeah, this is tough because I feel like at the time this came out, it definitely was like worse received in the like Randy's kind of point, because at the time, 2011 is when like people were starting to kind of take horror more seriously, and even the remakes that were coming out, they weren't great, but they were more brutal, they were more grounded, and then you started to get the more kind of serious films, and so like Scream kind of fell in this weird place at that time, but it's definitely gotten the love now. So I'm gonna go lower than Bob. I'm gonna say 65.
65. All right. So with 190 reviews, the tomatometer reads 60%. Soju's going to take this one. Just 5 off the key. Just 5 off.
Yeah, this fell at a weird place in time, I think. Just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's seems criminally low in my mind, but I also probably wouldn't have thought so a year ago. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the thing, is like distance makes the heart grow fonder, as they say. The audience, however, has a different thought. 50,000 plus ratings there.
Whoa.
So what do you think, Juice, starting with you, the audience's 50,000 ratings net out to in percentage points? What's the positivity?
I'm looking to sweep tonight. I think this is going to be more positive, but I think it's still going to be capped. So I'll take the 69 dudes. Hopefully they'll give me the sweep.
All right. There's 50,000 plus dudes, technically speaking.
Well,
but
I just want 69 of them.
All right.
That's all I can handle for now.
Sorry, boys. If you don't get the rose, you're out.
You got to get those numbers up, Juice. Amateur
I only got
numbers.
69 roses to hand out.
Amateur.
Oh, man.
Yes, that's what a boy likes.
Bob, how about you?
I like that bump. Oh man, I was totally gonna go with the 69 dudes. I'll go. That's a large sample, so I'm gonna go.
You feeling over? You feeling under?
I think I'm feeling over. I don't want to $1 you because it's cheap, so I'll $3 you with a 72.
Whoa!
Wow, how generous.
$3 bill, huh, Bob?
You know it.
Those 50,000 plus reviewers, you know what they thought? They thought this was a 56% positive.
Oh my God.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
That was way
Damn. The only positive thing about that is the hell you eat sweet.
Nay.
But damn, that's wow. Okay.
I was shocked. I was shocked when I saw that. I mean, even before my tune changed on this movie, I would say that it was better than that. I don't know. I probably would have put it at like a 70 in the past, but that's shocking to me.
Damn, I think it's like the timing.
Yeah.
I think this has aged really well.
Yeah.
Poor Wes, man. He deserved better than that.
I mean, I think it's at the time, I'm sure he was bummed, but unfortunately, he can't see how much everybody's grown to love it. But I mean,
well, ask him. In our interview.
Well, he also did worse.
100.
I'm sure he wasn't heartbroken, but
yeah. I mean,
you'll hear from him on mini episode 100
of Wes Craven.
Some very big promises.
On the mini cast for some reason.
It's not even big enough.
Sorry, Wes, you're not going to make it to air.
You gotta pay us money to hear the ghost of.
You're going to be on our show.
You want to hear a ghost? You got to pay us.
Would it be really distasteful if we hired a voice actor to do Wes Craven?
Yes.
Yes. The answer is
Are you sure?
Yes.
How sure are you?
What can we imitate a dead man for profit? Is that distasteful?
I don't see anything wrong with
nothing
it.
to that conversation.
I don't see anything wrong with
all
that
right,
at all.
on record, Bob is not bothered by that.
The critics' consensus reads as follows.
We'll deep fake you, Bob.
Deep fake your ass.
You can't go that deep. My ass. I'm desperate. You can't go that deep. That's too deep.
Bob's desperate. He'll do anything.
The critics' consensus is as follows. The franchise is showing its age, but Scream 4 is undeniably an improvement over its predecessor with just enough meta humor and clever kills. I think that's a little weak sauce for what we got ultimately.
Yeah.
Now let's read a negative review because they are occasionally fairly funny. Let's try and find a funny one, shall we? We have a success rate of about 30%. All right.
Not very successful.
That sounds a little high.
We do it. This is what lack of preparation gets you. Boring airtime. Here we go. Everybody is still a suspect and everybody is still a victim, but narrowing down our Ghostface has become easier than ever. I guess I am
Hilarious.
stupid. I don't think I like watching whodunits in general, like not just like Scream, obviously, but like I'm terrible at figuring out who done it.
Me too.
Terrible.
Yeah, me too.
So I can't really like ding.
I don't like. I always have this kind of balancing act where I think it's like fun because it's a whodunit to try, but I also know like I am just not smart or clever enough to.
I know that I will be wrong, and I'm excited to see why I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's kind of one of those things where like I don't really want to guess because that sounds like it would ruin the movie for me, but it's part of the experience of like that's kind of why you want to watch a whodunit. So yeah.
That's the intention, I guess. Yeah. One more negative review and we'll call it a day. The characters grapple with the rules of horror films, but the one rule I'm sure everyone involved with Scream 4 knew but refused to say: the fourth installment always and forever sucks. This man has not seen very many horror movies.
Nope. We were going through the list.
We just fucked that argument completely down to its bedrock.
What an idiot.
Fucked it.
To its bedrock. We rocked
Once I pooped in my pants in school and I just left it in all day.
Who said that? Who sat in their shit all day?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Must have been somebody tampering with our Zoom call.
What's worse, sitting in doo-doo draws all day or sitting in coming draws all day?
Doo-doo draws.
I don't want. Fuck, marry, kill. Doo-doo draws, pee-pee draws, shit.
I mean, at least you had some sexy time beforehand, and you don't have to smell shit all day.
I mean, not necessarily.
Well,
sometimes you can get all three if you play your cards right.
Dude, cummy draws all day. All day.
Okay.
That's
Bob's
a good
marrying cummy draws. You heard it here first.
That's a good bomb to add.
Who's picking doo-doo draws? Nobody. This is not just me. Nobody.
It's a super duper pooper.
Let's move on.
All right. Randy got some retro bumps kicking.
Oh, yeah. We're talking trivia. Let's talk trivia.
Okay.
It's totally time for trivia.
I like dropping the poop bumps right before Bob has to take the reins back, because there's just going to be like a full 5 minutes of Rob cackling in the background.
I definitely forgot that I had to do stuff. That's for sure. Oh, man. All right. Yeah, there's a fuckload of trivia on this movie. In the deleted scenes, Dewey explains to Gail that Neil Prescott, Sidney's father, has passed away since appearing in Scream 3. So that's why he just sort of like vanishes. That's not in the movie, but like that's why he's not in this movie, which is, I guess, slightly important to know. You're not going to see him again.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I just assumed he was out living his life somewhere and not necessarily in the same town his wife and daughter were murdered and attacked. I don't know.
That too.
That's not important.
Screenwriter Kevin Williamson again had some clashes with the Weinsteins, which resulted in them hiring Aaron Kruger for rewrites. Kruger penned Scream 3. It's the only Scream movie that Kevin Williamson did not have anything to do with writing. Some of the differences, I think, were probably beneficial, to be honest. I'm definitely like, team Kevin Williamson, generally speaking. But the movie was originally supposed to end with a cliffhanger, which would have really sucked because it waited however 10 years or however long to make another movie. But it was supposed to end with both Jill and Sidney laying in the kitchen. The ambulances pull up, they go inside and they say like, hey, we found a survivor, and they load him up and, take him to the hospital. And that's basically the end of the movie. And then apparently the movie that was supposed to come after this would have shown like Jill in college, healthy, living her life. And then Sidney would have suffered from some sort of amnesia and forgotten that her cousin was the killer. and then
That's terrible.
Not great.
I thought you were going to say she was in a coma or something and then woke up. That at least is serviceable. I wouldn't have liked it, but it would have been serviceable.
I would have been like okay with like we found a survivor, not and even that it needs to be like followed up on. Just even that as an ending would be okay, but this ending's better.
I think so too. I think it's definitely better for sure.
I definitely think it's better, but also like now that you say that, it makes sense to me because there were a couple of things in the like that hospital scene that were just a little bit seemed a little bit like convenient or odd or whatever. Like the fucking Jill talking about their matching wounds. That's such a weird dot to connect. I don't know. Like that one is a little weird. Yeah. It's not. It's fine, but maybe a little blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not mad at the Kruger alterations here. How ironic is it that the script doctor's last name is actually Kruger? You know, what are the chances? Also, wow! There's a gag reel. If you pick this up on Blu-ray, you can watch it. There's an ongoing prank on set where I believe there was a prop master. I forget who it is exactly, who would dress up as Ghostface and would jump out at the actors like when he's not actually supposed to, just to like legitimately terrify them, and they would film it for a laugh. There's like a super cut of that happening, which is a fun little bonus.
Cool, yay, fun.
Worth the
I love working with Rick. Such a fun guy.
He's such a motherfucker. No red right hand.
Prepare to
by
laugh
Nick
your
Cave.
guts out through your asshole.
Be prepared to be bedazzled. No red right hand in this movie, which is the only Scream movie with no red right hand in it.
Damn, they could have done the Arctic Monkeys version.
Dude, I wonder if Six Scream's
They
going to
barely touched the Dewey's theme.
I wonder.
Actually.
Yeah,
the Dewey theme, yeah.
They were light on it.
The roles of Chloe and Rachel, which are from the intro, were originally written for Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan, which would have been, I guess...
That would have been more of the moment, honestly.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't remember when they were relevant, but I guess so.
Yes.
I mean, it was like 6 years before this movie, probably.
Yeah, I think so.
This was supposed to be released in October 2010. Just before Halloween, which is kind of perfect. It's what you want for a Scream movie. But the writing delays pushed it back to an April 15th, 2011 release date. I think that definitely had to impact its reception in a way. If it would have come out in October, I think people would have been a little more stoked on it. If I had to.
That's interesting because this, like the upcoming one, the last one had come out early in the year too.
January and then March on this one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I'm grateful, honestly, because it's like if they're going to do it, there's just too much packed in October.
Yeah.
We need that.
There's still kind of a lull for this year. I've been like, after coming off of 2022, so I was like, all right, just going to keep it rolling. I'm kind of like, where are the movies at?
Dude, yeah, it's kind of a slow start, to be honest.
It is. But last year was kind of slow.
That's kind of how it goes.
It kicked off with Scream, kind of, in my mind.
It did, it did.
Yeah.
5 Cream, yeah.
Well, I guess that was January, so
January.
Never
mind. Deputy Perkins' first name is Anthony, making his name Anthony Perkins. Norman Bates.
Oh yeah, they did say Anthony's. What's his name? That actor is Anthony something. I'd have to look it up.
I don't remember off the top of my head. What else we got? Apparently, Christina Ricci did a screen test for the role of Deputy Judy Hicks.
Anthony Anderson,
yeah, that's his name. Also, Aubrey Plaza was auditioning for Rebecca, which Alison Brie eventually played. So those are like some interesting alternate casts. I would have loved to have seen Christina Ricci, honestly.
I would like to see her in this franchise, but not necessarily as Deputy Judy.
Yeah. I agree.
But I would definitely be down for her to be in this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I love seeing Christina Ricci pretty much in anything. So
yeah,
put her in there. I mean, they didn't spare too many cameos in this. Obviously, with the intro alone, they squeezed in at least 2 big ones.
Yeah.
And then probably a few that just weren't. I think Becky told me that one of those people at the beginning, like I think it was once we hit the third one, so it was like the real shit. I think the girl that got killed was from Pretty Little Liars or something. So there's probably pulling from pools I'm just not that familiar with too.
Yeah, same. honestly.
Yeah.
This was the lowest grossing Scream movie to be released. It made $38 million domestically and another 99 worldwide against a $40 million budget, which is still successful, but I guess not successful enough for them to immediately greenlight another one.
Well, coming off a 3 Cream, that's
rough.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy bar to clear.
Yeah.
The guy who played Robbie was named Eric Knudsen, which is very strange because I just watched this whole thing about Slender Man, and it was invented originally by a guy named Eric Knudsen. I had to look to make sure. It's like, was this guy in the movies too?
The same guy?
Weird.
Different guy.
Weird.
Very different guy. Yeah, it's just a crazy coincidence.
Okay.
Your boy Roger Ebert shat on this. He gave it 2 stars, saying 4 Cream provides exactly what its audience will expect. One victim after the other being slashed, skewered, stabbed, gutted, and sliced, with everyone in on the joke. Maybe that's your idea of a good time.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like a bad time.
Maybe that's your idea of a good time. I've got a circle jerk to get to.
Oh, you're a magic twanger, Froggy.
Wow. This is the last bit of trivia I have, and I'm bummed that I didn't get to see this. At Universal Studios, they had a terror tram called Scream with 4 in there, For Your Life. And that was part of their Halloween Horror Nights for 2011, apparently. They did that.
Oh.
Yeah, the tram thing is like, Universal Studios Hollywood. That's how Universal Studios The Theme Park began, was from the tram tours. So, and they do the horror version of that pretty regular.
Okay, I misunderstood what that was then. Thank you, Randeezy. I thought it was much more of like a haunted attraction and not just like a legit tram that you just ride around and okay.
I don't know what the situation is now, but at least originally they were trams like that you ride around in, and they show you the back lot or whatever, and then they brought in like the Jaws animatronic type shit, and then that became Universal Studios.
Okay, gotcha.
So I don't know what its current status or how that works now.
In 2011, what they were doing.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, cool. I'm sure there's pictures online if you guys want to research it. Terror Tram, 4 Cream, check it out. That's the trivia I got. Let's roll on into our Cooter of the Week.
Straight chillin'. Cooter of the Week.
Juice, what is a cooter and why do we hunt them?
Oh, Cooter's a character type and a straight chillin' exclusive. Cooter must hit 3 of these 5 points to be considered a cooter, but we want the cooter with the most points. The 5 points of cooterdom are sexual deviance, manipulation, smug arrogance, overall look and attire, and overall patheticness. Boys, do we have a cooter and 4 Cream? I think every Scream's got a cooter.
Yeah. I mean, Charlie Jill combo, I guess, here.
Yeah.
I mean, the killers tend to be in that realm anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Jill's got the arrogance out of the asshole.
She does. All right, let's break her down. Let's break Jill.
Break her down for parts.
So she's got arrogance, check. She has manipulation for sure.
Super
she
check.
Betrays Charlie and
everyone, and her cousin and her mother.
Yeah. So check on that.
Attire. She looks normal playing the part.
Yeah, normal.
Sexual deviancy. I don't think deviancy for her. Like the only thing you talk about sexually with her is her having her virginity taken by Trevor, and that being sort of just parallel to Sydney and Stu, or not Stu, Sydney and Steve.
Your dreams, Randy. Yeah, and I don't know. Is she particularly pathetic?
I don't think she's pretty self-possessed.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, she kind of taking care of business.
I will say, like, the idea of murdering your friends and family just so you can have fans is pathetic.
That's true
in and of itself.
Bob, what you
like?
I don't get
Rob,
it.
you're not really committed to this podcast, are you?
I don't understand. I will murder.
If you're not willing to kill for this podcast, I don't even understand.
For this cast, Bob, come
on.
I'll do it every day. Whatever.
Do it
every day.
I need fans. Yabos die tonight.
Every day. Right. Yeah, I guess her kind of like whole ethos is pretty pathetic in the grand scheme of things, but that's the world we live in, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's the pathetic that's the cultural patheticness they were pointing at, was like the sell your mother down the river for 15 minutes of Twitch streamer fame.
That's true. You know what really fucks with me? I just don't like it. It's like parents who are like using their kids to like make viral videos and shit. I don't like that.
I love it.
What are you fucking prude?
Is this a hot take?
Exploit your children, people. You deserve it.
I don't know. Anytime I just see a video pop up and it's like, those kids have like no choice in that shit.
What's up, guys? My son Charlie's about to learn how to potty. Let's go to Charlie.
Yeah.
Let's go to Charlie. Charlie, go. Oh, we shit on the floor again. Oh my God.
We're going to prank our kids. Like, that's the shit I hate, is like the fake, obviously fake.
Yeah. Where like, we gave them fake Christmas or something. They're like crying and it's like on.
We ate the whole turkey for Thanksgiving. Yeah. Oh no, mom and dad.
It's like you're lying and manipulating your child so that you can post the video online and
teaching them to do the same. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Honestly, I don't know what fucking videos you guys are watching. I don't see any of this shit. Like,
I don't usually, but like it comes across your field of vision. This shit is very popular.
Yeah, I mean, it's just anytime there's any kind of major holiday, like anytime Christmas, those things just like pop up, you know.
It's the same kind of people that like adopt a dog for the engagement, and then the dog just kind of disappears because they give it away or whatever.
God damn.
Once the engagement towards the dog ends,
that's fucked up shit.
It's fucked up.
Oh yeah, how's your puppy doing, Bob?
Fantastic. He's the best.
Got rid of it.
He's gone.
I got the fortune and the fame, and I threw him to the gutter. No, he's wonderful.
Dang.
He's the best.
Cool. So yeah. Okay. I don't know what we're talking about. Charlie.
We're talking about.
So
yeah, I think Jill is enough. Yeah. Charlie, he gets manipulation. He gets some smug arrogance. His patheticness comes when he's like, and now you just are giving me some attention. Babe. Oh, babe.
That's heavy duty incel bullshit. And you know how I feel about that.
He's got some of the smug arrogance like around the festival and stuff. I feel like that, and he, kind of like, oh, my film festival, or is that the other guy?
No,
I can't.
That's the Robbie character who's sort of...
okay, never mind. Okay. He is kind of like I keep getting both of them mixed up, but when they do their little Q&A session with Sid, that's like kind of a fucked up moment.
Exploiting her for sure.
Yeah, they're just exploiting her and totally oblivious to what's going on. So I think
his patheticness makes up for somewhat lighter anyway, smug arrogance and manipulation. Everybody in this movie, their looking attire is pretty standard, so I'm just basically counting that out.
Yeah,
I don't think there's like anybody, like the boyfriend doesn't really stand out as anything. They don't give him a lot of character development. Kirby's pretty cool.
Maybe a little too cool, but that's kind of normal. Like her and like I forget the girl's name in the new in Scream 5 that was filling the Randy role, but they're both like a little too cool about it.
Yeah, true.
Little self-insert.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess the killers, nothing groundbreaking.
I don't want to go through everybody.
Yeah, those are the ones.
Now let's look at Sid,
Oh yeah.
Charlie and Jill, we got them. Cooter double team. Lock 'em up.
Kristen Bell. Put her on there.
Cooter of the week. Sweet. I think we did it. Let's go ahead and kick our feet up and talk about what we've been watching this week.
Hey gang, what you been watching?
Randeezy, what you been watching?
Well, let's see. I have been continuing my journey through Poker Face. I just got through an episode that heavily featured John Darnielle from the Mountain Goats, and I was very, very, very pleased by that. I'm a big Mountain Goats fan. That's the episode involving the metal band. For those, he's the guitarist, basically. I don't know. He's the guy who's divorced in that movie, in that episode. Anyway, that show's great, and like I said, I love a good whodunit. It's got the perfect cadence to it. Natasha Lyonne is super fun to watch and super, super sarcastic in all the right ways. Love it. The Murdaugh Murders, A Southern Scandal. Finished that up. Boy,
I have not watched
went
that.
way further than I thought it would. Man, and we've had a lot of news.
Didn't the trial just like wrap up or something?
They just convicted him for life.
Oh,
convicted somebody for life. You don't know who. It's no spoilers about life.
No, him. Not him.
Yeah, no,
not my boy. Him.
My boy.
Him. Yeah, that shit's really truly fucked up, and I don't think that I'm breaking any new ground by saying so.
Yeah, I didn't know and still know anything outside of what I listened to on G Baby's podcast.
Yeah, I
Same.
didn't know anything about this until 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. It was all news to me, but I rewatched Speed Racer, which I haven't seen in some time. I really like that movie. That movie's super fucking fun. It's hokey in all the right ways. It's got a stellar performance by Christina Ricci, by John Goodman, especially. There's some good shit in there. I don't know. It hits the perfect Speed Racer tone without being like, I don't know, unwatchable. It's still got good action and stuff. The visuals are like kind of dated at this point, and it's like hyper green screeny, but it works so well for that property specifically. So that
might be one of the only like successful, good, retro cartoon brought to movie type. I haven't seen
it. Might be certainly for anime. It's a cursed genre for being adapted to live action. But this one, they do that thing where it's like Sky Captain and the World of Tomorrow, where just everything in it is green screen. But because it's based on a cartoon and everything's hyper vibrant and ridiculous, it works great. Like I think they did a great job. Let's see. I rewatched Lake Mungo, which weirdly came up the next day on the Slack as being a lot of people's favorites. I like that movie a fucking lot. It's extremely sad and extremely good found footage horror. I watched All the President's Men, which I'd never seen, and it's really fucking good. Unsurprising, a seminal classic that pretty much defined the genre of like scrappy journalists speaking truth to power subgenre that exists out there. There's a lot of I don't know how to say it, a lot of tropes that came out of this movie that I didn't know came from this movie. The meeting a shadowy figure in a parking structure with a cigarette in his mouth, that sort of shit is directly from this fucking movie. And this movie's directly from life, and it's kind of fucked up. Do you guys know about that movie?
No.
Oh, it's like it's a fucking classic. It's an extremely well-known movie. It's about the Watergate scandal. It's Woodward and Bernstein's reporting on that, and their trials and tribulations getting that stuff to print, and basically taking down the Prez. Pretty interesting fucking story. Extremely well acted, and I kind of miss the soundtrack in that fucking thing is great. I don't know. I could go on and on. And last, I'll mention that I always mean to mention this because I do watch it pretty frequently. I know I brought it up before, but I've been watching the Found Footage Festival. Has a regular ongoing weekly show called VCR Party, where they screen found footage for each other. It's like a chat show. It's like a nicer version of Red Letter Media that's not about critiquing things. It's more about like finding ridiculous, silly things and celebrating them. I really like it. It's a lot of fucking fun. And for being like not the biggest channel, a lot of the bumps I sourced from them because they have so much great found footage. I like the shit out of that show, and I want to recommend it quite highly. It's a great stoned watch. Do that.
Nice.
That's it for me.
Smoke the devil's lettuce, says Randeezy. Juice, what you been watching?
I've been watching a little show called Erie, Indiana. Do you guys remember that?
I do remember that.
I loved Erie, Indiana, but I don't remember much about it.
Starring our boy Max from Hocus Pocus.
Oh, was it?
It's like a 12-year-old or some shit. Yeah, 11, 12 years old. It's I guess it originally aired on Fox Kids, which I don't remember that. But it's fun, because Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps and stuff get a lot of remembrance and attention. I had completely forgotten about this show until like something popped out. I don't even remember what it was. I was like, oh fuck. And then I was watching the intro. I was like, oh shit, I gotta watch this. But it's essentially got that suburban creepiness, like something's going on at your neighbor's house and each yeah, well, and the first, or one of the first episodes is just about this woman that's like sells Tupperware, but the Tupperware like keeps you alive forever. It's just kind of that goofy stuff, but it's pretty fun, honestly. It holds up after each episode they solve the kind of crime. He like works with his little neighbor buddy who's like a lot younger than him, so he's got a little sidekick feel, but they collect, like something and they put it in their little attic museum or whatever of like to prove that suburbia is, not normal and shit like that. And the parents are totally oblivious and I don't know, it's fun. It's a fun, goofy little time for spookiness in the 90s. There was a lot of cool, spooky shit going on in the 90s.
There were, man.
Honestly. Yeah. So it's pretty fun and it's 19 episodes. They're super short. They're like 23 minutes. So I should be able to burn through it pretty quick, but it's fun. It's a fun blast from the past.
I just looked it up out of curiosity and fucking Chris Elliott is in an episode and what's her fucking name from Halloween 4 and 5? Blanking. Totally
like the
blanking.
Little girl?
Yeah, fucking.
Oh shit!
Danielle Harris.
Danielle Harris.
Yeah,
I could see her. I guess she was in that too. That's
okay.
Nice.
I love those kind of shows, like anthologies for horror for kids. It's the best.
I was listening to Danielle Harris's podcast a while ago, actually, and she dated the dude from Hocus Pocus, whose name I'm totally blanking on.
Max.
Yeah, well, his actual name.
I think his name is like Elliot, or something starts with an E. I think.
Omri Katz.
She spilled the beans that she lost her virginity to him. So,
whoa! Hopefully, it wasn't on that show.
I went from not remembering her name off the top of my head to knowing her virginal status.
Bob.
I remember her name.
Yeah. So
well, you better, you son of a bitch.
You son of a bitch.
He didn't really do
Don't be
too
spilling
much
the beans.
after Hocus Pocus, honestly. I was looking at his stuff. So yeah, that's been fun. So I look forward to finishing that, continue to watch it and stuff. Even the intro, even if you just want to go watch the intro, I encourage you on YouTube. It's like he's riding his bike through suburbia. He's like, things are normal here. There's like an Elvis guy or whatever. It's just a lot of fun.
Always is.
90s kids weirdness.
Yeah. I watched The Hustle, Adam Sandler basketball movie. And that one was pretty solid. Nothing like groundbreaking, but a pretty feel good little story of like, perseverance and working hard and, doing good. After last week's episode, I watched The Game from Fincher, and that was really dope. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. So glad I got on that train. I watched a Korean film called The Kingmaker. This is kind of like a political film about during the time, when was it? Like the 70s. Even South Korea was kind of like going through kind of a bit of a dictatorship, and it's about like the election to try to kind of like overthrow that. They were still like doing elections, but it's like a political movie. And it was pretty good. Interesting from a historical standpoint. And I rewatched 5 Cream, getting ready for the whole Scream week. I got to do 2 and 3 still, but that's all I've been watching. Robert, what you been watching, my guy?
Oh, hey. I watched Scream 1 through 5. Watched them all.
Whoa.
This past week.
Damn, dude.
Getting ready for the big show.
How do they hold up, Bob? Scream's just not what it once was, huh?
Most of them are pretty good, which is nice.
I wonder. So we've done 1, 4, and 5 now, and I guess 6 next week. This potentially could be the highest rated franchise so far.
Maybe. Could be, yeah. I feel like...
we haven't done the bottom of the barrel yet.
That's
yeah,
true.
But yeah.
Evil Dead franchise is up there. It's fewer movies, though. That's got to be...
Probably, but I generally was pretty medium on those, so I think it could bring it down.
It's a consistent
way to
franchise.
bring it down.
Yeah.
You know, it's not... They're not all bangers, but Scream is pretty damn consistent. For sure.
Pretty consistent, yeah.
Outside of that, I've just been binge watching Somebody Feed Phil, which I know I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I think. Which is it's like a travel and food show on Netflix. Phil Rosenthal, the guy who created Everybody Loves Raymond, is the host. And he just travels around, eats food, and talks about it. And he's a very likable, jovial dude. He's a slightly older Jewish fellow from the Bronx, and he makes it sort of like almost like a family affair. He's got some kids, and like he'll bring his kids along here and there. He'll bring his wife along here and there, and he always like calls his parents at the end of the show. And his dad is kind of a funny guy, and he's like, you know, an older gentleman. He'll throw out some jokes, and it's just like very wholesome and like light and enjoyable. And I don't know, it's like a feel good thing you can just throw on and anytime and watch him eat great shit and visit amazing cities. It also has like the best theme song I think I have maybe ever heard. It definitely in like recent memory, that's for sure. But like I've been singing it for weeks. It has been stuck
Bored to Death
in my head for weeks. It's better than Bored to Death. But that's great too. That is great. It's
about True Detective.
About Cowboy Bebop.
Dude, Cowboy Bebop fucks. You can't really like sing.
What
it
about
very
Fresh
easily.
Prince?
It's better. It's
Bel
better.
Air.
I prefer this to that, but that's also extremely fucking good. Okay, all right. Anyway, the theme song was written by a band called Lake Street Drive, which is it's a fantastic band. Check them out. Check out the show too. It's very good. It's on Netflix. Recommend it. That's really all I've been watching though. Just those two things.
What about 60 Minutes, Bob? Best theme song in the biz.
Oh well,
I love that. That hook is so good.
The Last of Us 2, which is great. Just watch The Last of Us if you haven't.
Oh fuck! I forgot to watch the newest episode.
It's really,
God damn it.
really good.
Damn, I forgot it was Tuesday. God, my days have just been like fucking evaporating.
Yeah, check out all that shit. That's what I've been watching. Let's go ahead and jump into our last segment, which is, of course, our Hotline Screams.
Hotline Scream.
If you are listening and would like to call in and leave a voicemail to be featured on next week's show, hit us up at 904-638-3231. We have no voicemails this week, and I can't believe nobody called in to say they wanted to eat popcorn out of our asshole buckets. Like, what is wrong with y'all?
What?
We did get a long ass motherfucking email from your girl, the librarian. So I'm gonna summarize it. Yeah, well, context here. So we obviously recently reviewed Alien 3, and there were so many different script variations for that movie, and one of the scripts was fleshed out into a novel that I'm blanking on the name of it, but the librarian read it in like a fucking day.
Alien 3.
It's just called Alien 3. That's it.
I think so.
Tight. Alien 3.
I'll look it up.
The librarian read that whole fucking book and then wrote us basically a book review, and we are not going to read the whole thing because it's very long. But
William Gibson's Alien 3.
William Gibson's Alien. So this is the Gibson pass on the script in book form. There you go. So Juice read some stuff
So the intro says, "Hello, gentlemen. So as promised, here's my review with spoilers of the screenplay turned book version of Alien Cube. To start, I give this a solid 1.75 stars. And I can't say I'd recommend it unless you're a diehard Alien franchise fan and want a story that takes place in the Alien universe. This is a long email, so I totally understand if you pick and choose parts to read. I swear I tried to edit it down, but there's just so much stupidity." So pretty much like then she like writes out a synopsis of this. It seems like it's more kind of like political and based and military kind of based, where their ship does not land on a prison planet, but it's in a sector called the Union of Progressive Peoples. And then like there's some military experimentation going on, some DNA mixing with xenomorphs. The Queen is still alive in some capacity, and some pretty standard stuff happens. They try to escape. Oh, the Queen's on board, and there's another queen. There's more than one queen. And yeah, Hicks is still alive. Newt is like still alive at one point. I don't know if she makes it to the end. So yeah, doesn't sound like anything particular. It didn't sound like they developed the interesting points of like what we were talking about last week. So at the end, it says, "The end. Don't read this. Signed, the librarian." So
that script, I believe, it sounds like it's the one that was very much a Cold War commentary with the space mall, that whole thing.
Is it? But yeah. She doesn't mention a space mall.
She does. She says it's not
she does.
big of a part of, like, I guess like when we were like reading it on Wikipedia, it sounded like the mall would be a massive part.
Would be the big place.
In the book, it's not that big, apparently.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it sounds kind of boring and we anticipated, not very good.
Great, yeah. It's interesting that exists, though. We had no idea that book was out there at all, and then she hit us up and was like, "Hey, I own this. I'm going to read the entire thing in 60 minutes." Because she's a fucking speed reader, and then gave us a whole fucking book review, which is insane.
Whoa.
Shouts out.
Whoa, there's so many books out there. It's like, whoa.
Dude, I know. What did
anybody could write about anything?
What did the library? she cleared like 180.
What if this book just started
books
flying, dog?
Last year, or something?
Yeah, it was something nuts. It was like 3 a week or something.
An insane quantity of books.
3.5. Like, yeah, it was crazy.
Good on you, and thank you for chiming in and hitting us up and telling us like what could have been had Gibson's screenplay passed. But it did not. Alas. Gentlemen, do you have any prompts you want to throw out there for next week's Hotline Scream? You got any ideas?
Give us your 6 ratings. Like, give us your 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
In that order.
Yeah, just repeat that.
Order.
I'm just saying, like, what's your number 6?
Yeah.
What's your number 5?
Yeah.
Give us a countdown.
Give your best and worst. So you don't have to go through the whole thing.
My
best
6
and worst.
My 6 cream is 3 cream. My 5 cream.
I mean, unless 6 just like really shits the bed, though, I feel like we're just going to be getting a lot of 1 is the best and 3 is the worst. So that doesn't sound very interesting.
The middle could fluctuate, though.
Yeah.
Like 2, 4, 5.
All right.
Maybe
how about
6,
this? What Scream film have you changed your mind about and why?
It's 4. Everyone's just going to say 4.
Okay. Well, what do you fucking want from me?
Give us the 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Jesus Christ. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not fucking Alex Trebek. I don't have the questions handy.
Give us the ranking, or, if you did catch 6 Scream, just call in and tell us what you thought about it.
Or a hot take. Give us a Scream hot take. Maybe you really like 3.
Maybe
or
you
some
fuck
shit.
with 3 extremely hard. Maybe you do.
Yeah. Or like maybe some of your, I was going to say some of your favorite Ghostface killers, but then we're just going to get the old, I don't know.
Yeah.
Something. Tell us something about Scream.
Which Ghostface killer?
Just talk about Scream.
Would you bang the hardest? Let us know.
Whoa, Bob.
Whoa.
After you can't say bang on podcasts. That's not allowed.
Sorry.
Can't say bang anymore, Bob.
Plow. Which would you plow the hardest?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hit us up, 904-638-3231. We're going to be back next week with a brand new show, as always. We're covering 6 Cream for sure. Slam your eyeballs into it. Get ready for next week's show. Until then, rate, review, subscribe to us on iTunes. It's a really easy way to support the show. If you give us that rating on iTunes, it helps other people find us that might not otherwise. We really do appreciate that. You can find us on Instagram at Straight Chilling Podcast, on Twitter at STR8_chilling. If you want to join in on the daily Slack channel conversations, hit us up on one of those social media outlets, and I'll send you a link so you can do so. It's a wonderful community, and we talk about not just movies, but life stuff, share pictures of our animals, trade recipes, talk about health and fitness, and all the good shit. So it's a great community. Join it.
Also, I think we're at that might have been just. I thought we were at 99 members.
I think we are.
Okay, so whoever joins next is going in straight chilling history.
Hundo, number 100.
It's the 100th.
Yeah, that's gonna do it for us. Until next week, as always, all you mother truckers, please keep chilling.
Yes, that's what a boy likes.